How do I achieve happiness? Let's see it. Hi guys, this is Valentin, and on this channel I share with you all the gold nuggets that I learned from working with more than 800 people, a bunch of millionaires, and investing over 100k into myself. Click the subscribe button so you can get all the next nuggets into the future. So, happiness. How do I achieve happiness? Well, there's good news and there's bad news. Which one do you want first? I don't know, I'll go with the bad ones first. You don't. There's no way you're gonna achieve happiness. Now, before you close this video and put me like very small out there, the good news, you can still be happy, but not really in the way you experienced it so far. You see, most people, the way they think about happiness is that state of high, that state of like enthusiasm, high energy, that state of emotion where you buy like a new iPhone. That's what most people experience as happiness, and that's not happiness. That's just a rush of dopamine into your... Now, what I'm talking here about is real happiness, which is not an emotion, it's a state. What I mean by state is, we all have a baseline. And the baseline is basically the state that you're gonna mostly be in. Most people are into anger, sadness, depression, victimhood, and we all have a baseline, which is basically the emotion that we're gonna come back to most of the time and that we're gonna feel most of the time. What I'm talking here about is having that baseline of happiness, which is not a high. It's not like that constant excitement like when you receive a new phone. It's just a state of peace, of alignment, and of well-being. And that's not an emotion, again, that's a state. And you don't achieve that, you realize that. And what I mean by that is, you cannot have happiness into the future. You cannot focus on happiness into the future. Because if you focus on happiness into the future, you focus on an idealist state that you put into a future, that you put on a pedestal, and you focus on that and yourself. And guess what? There's a space between the two. And you focus on that space, on that difference. And that's a problem, man. Because you're not focusing on what you want, you're focusing on what you're missing. Because you're not focusing about, I want this. You're focusing on, I don't have this yet. Because the more you think about, I want something, the more you send the message to your brain, you don't have it yet. And the more you send that message, the more you reinforce the state of lackness, the state of, I don't have. That reinforces the fact that into the present, you're not happy. And by the fact of you actually wanting to achieve happiness, you're reinforcing your unhappiness. And the first step to achieving happiness is accepting that you're never gonna get there. Now, happiness can only be experienced, you cannot understand. And I know like this might sound a little bit confusing, but I've seen this with literally hundreds of people, literally, where they try to understand how things works. I know that right now you might be in front of this video taking notes or really grasping your head or like, what the fuck this guy is talking about, what else he wants to tell me. And look, you're not gonna understand this. You might have the illusion that you understand this, but you're not gonna understand this because you're trying to achieve something emotional with your logic, and it's not possible. It's like having a Chinese problem and trying to solve that in English. It's not gonna work. It's two different languages. You have your mind and you have your body. You have your thoughts, you have your emotions. You have your understanding with what we're doing right now, and you have your integration, which is the equivalent of understanding but for the body. And you cannot understand happiness. Stop trying to figure out how you're gonna be happy. You're not gonna figure it out. You can only experience it, realize it, and internalize and see how it feels. And then nurturing that state over and over again and getting into that state more and more often. Good, Valentin. Now tell me, how the fuck do I achieve that? Well, here's the formula that I found. Happiness equals IW multiplied by LA multiplied by P. And I know I'm talking Chinese here, but let me explain. The first element is IW, which is inner work. And what I mean by that is, how much do you work on your demons? Because it's cool to dream about being happy and being present and being all enlightened. You're not gonna be able to achieve that if you get triggered all the time. If everything that happens in the world, everything that happens to you, everything that people say to you triggers you and creates an emotional response, you're living a life where you're constantly emotionally responding to the exterior. There's no way you're gonna be happy there. So the first step, and the most important, is the inner work. Stop getting fucking triggered every single time. And the way you do that is going into these traumatic childhood experiences and working on them. And this is what we do on this channel. So what is inner work? It's working on your inner demons, your limiting beliefs, and your inner trauma. What are your demons? Are all the fears that you don't want to face. All the things that pop up in your head from time to time. That little voice that tells you from time to time that you're not good enough, you're not gonna be successful, you're gonna fail, you're not beautiful enough, you're gonna be lonely, you're gonna be rejected. All that little things that pops in your mind, that's your inner demons, and that's what you gotta face. Now, what your limiting beliefs is, I'm not enough that, I cannot achieve that, life is this, life is hard, I'm never gonna be successful. It's all the beliefs that you have about yourself and about the world that are just assumptions that you got from when you were little, that your your parents, your teachers, society passed on to you and that you got assumed realities which are in fact just beliefs that you never challenged before. And what's your inner trauma? Well, it's just all these fucked up experiences that you experienced during childhood that you don't really remember anymore, but that still makes you triggered. Now, how do you solve that? Well, it's exactly what we do here. So click that subscribe button, click the notifications button, and every time there's gonna be a new video popping up, you're gonna be the first ones to see it. Now, getting to the next element, which is LA, which stands for life alignment, which is basically your lifestyle. Does your life and your external circumstances matches who you are? Does your life match you? And this goes from your job, your spouse, your partner, your kids, up to the hobbies that you have, up to the way you eat, where you live, everything. And it's taking into account all the areas of your life and looking at them like, am I aligned with this? Do I like this? Is this who I am? Because there's no way you're gonna be happy if you go to a job that you hate. There's no way you're gonna be happy if you hate cold and you live in fucking Antarctica. There's no way you're gonna be happy if you live a life of non-alignment. And this is not something that you can do just like that. This is not something that you can solve through meditation like the inner work. This is a continuous progress that's constantly in progress. Of one, discovering yourself, and two, realigning your life with yourself. And this takes time. This is gonna take months, even years, maybe even decades. But this is continuous work. From maybe quitting the job that you have right now or switching your business model to one that you like morely, up to finding the right partner for you and doing the right hobbies, creating the right social circle for you. It's a continuous work and you gotta start working on it now, because this is the second most important element for happiness. It's taking all the areas of your life and looking at them objectively and rating them from a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied you are with those, and then starting or working on those. And start to work with the worst one. Now, the third element, the happiness formula, is P, which stands for presence. And this is what personally I found the most challenging to be, which is being in the present moment. You might have worked on your inner demons, so you're not triggered. You might have worked on your life, so you have the job that you want and you live where you want. But you're not gonna be able to be happy if you're not gonna be able to enjoy those things. You can have all the money in the world, and I've seen this with super rich clients. If you're not able to enjoy them, you're not gonna be happy. And presence is for enjoying. There's one thing to chase more, and there's another thing to chase more while you enjoy what you already have. And this is the biggest key in this video. Inner work, it's possible to be done. Life alignment, it's possible to work on it. But presence, it's something that you need to cultivate daily. You have to work on it constantly and realign yourself constantly and get back to the present moment constantly. And it's something that is pretty hard because from a very young age, we're constantly either into the past and the shitty experiences that we had, either into the future worrying about shit that will probably never happen. And the presence process is letting go of the past, letting go of controlling the future, and coming back to the present moment. And how do you do this? Well, I have no big secret for you. And this is gonna sound cliche, but it's just breathing into the present moment. And a very good book for this is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And if you haven't read that before, please go check it out. I'm not gonna put any link because I don't have any affiliate link yet, but go check out the video. You can find it on Amazon for a couple bucks and read that. And the biggest technique that helped me to get back to the present moment is breathe work. It's focusing on your breathing, and it's a muscle that you train every single day. In the beginning, you have no results, but slowly but surely you start to be more and more present. And here's the thing. Presence is not something that you achieve. Presence is kind of like happiness. It's you just do it. The biggest question I receive pretty much every single time on the group coaching calls is, how do I become present? Well, you don't become present. There isn't a technique to get to the presence. There's no like blueprint of how you can be present. It's just stop thinking about the future or the past and come back to the present. And here's the big key. It's gonna be imperfect at the beginning. You're not gonna get it right. Just accept that. You're not gonna make it right like you don't ride perfectly the bike from the first time. It's a muscle that you train and something that you learn to do. And you cannot expect to have like the perfect blueprint so you can finally be present all the time. You're not gonna get there. You start being present, and slowly but slowly it starts to get perfect and perfect. But at the beginning it's not perfect, and that's totally fine. So start practicing presence, not achieving presence. Start practicing presence. And just to crush your fantasy, you're never gonna be happy 100% of the time. Even if you've done a bunch of inner work, even if your life alignment is amazing, even if you're present all the time, you're still gonna have fucked up shit that comes into your life. You're still gonna have bad days, you're still gonna have days where you're not really feeling it, and that's totally fine. And the biggest bonus, if I would have to add to this equation for happiness, is be happy with the fact of not being happy. And when you're happy, and when you accept the fact that you might not be happy all the time. What I mean by this, accept that you're not gonna be at an all-time high all the time. That will reinforce your default happiness. So don't get attached to what happiness looks like. Just embrace how happiness is now, today. That being said, if you want to learn more about this, click this video up, whatever that video pops up, I don't know. Click it up, and if you have any questions, please hit me up. Instagram, Facebook, or on the comments, wherever you want. With that being said, this was Valentin, and see you in the next video.